Hey there everybody, and welcome to my first impression review of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifolio. This should be quite a good one. Yes guys, you heard me, I am going to be driving now, albeit briefly, the new Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifolio. So this is the monster spec of the Stelvio range. It has a poxy little 2.9 litre twin turbo V6 engine under the bonnet, and it produces an almighty 510 brake horsepower. Now it will say it's starting to get a little bit damp and rainy here, so I'm kind of glad I got the SUV version and not the Guilia, but if it is there, I'm definitely going to have to get the keys to it. So I'll quickly take you around the car and then we'll go for a drive. Now I've not actually driven this car yet, so everything that you see when I film it will actually be a first impression review. I've only driven it about 300 yards at around 10 miles an hour, so you can't really gauge a lot about the car in that time. So styling wise, I mean, it's clearly an Alfa, isn't it, with that lovely Shield V grille and the offset registration plate. It's a stunning car to look at. It's got real presence, even in this pearlescent white and the contrasting dark alloys. And speaking of the alloys, the wheels, they are 20-inch, and I love the design of these alloys. They're the biohazard look to them, and as you can see, we've got the almighty brakes behind them. I've not got the spec sheet in my hand, but you'll see the information come up at the bottom of the screen as I go round. Also got the little badge, well actually it's quite a large badge for the 4-leaf clover to let you know this is the Quadrifolio, let you know it is the performance version of the car. We've also got some vents on the bonnet just to let you know that the engine underneath does require cooling, because it's probably going to get a bit of a thrashing on this media day with the FCA group. And just look at it, it's got so much presence and stance. Alfa are definitely on their game when it comes to the design of their cars. Possibly not the prettiest Alfa ever, you let me know. I think something like the Alfa Romeo Brera is arguably their most prettiest car, or best looking car, and I think could be actually a bit of a modern classic. But you decide, put it in the comment section down below. So this car has got front sensors. We've also got a little patch there for like the autonomous emergency braking. Some venting underneath there. I believe those are real vents. I can see they're not blocked off. And then as we come around, we'll go straight to the interior. Because as I said, I've not got this car for long, and you know, there will be a queue of people waiting to drive it. So first thing on the doors, we've got carbon fibre, and we've got the green and white stitching to let you know again it's the Quadrifolio. We've also got a Harman Kardon sound system in here, which I'm hoping is going to be absolutely gorgeous and wonderful to listen to. The seats, as you can see there is a performance tag, Sparco. So these are Sparco seats with carbon fibre on the bottom, and also carbon fibre on the back of them as well. I'll show you that in a moment when we look at the rear. But there is the interior. So it's very much same design as the normal Stelvio, but with a lot more in terms of racing touches. We've got leather on the dashboard, we've got Alcantara, carbon fibre and leather on the steering wheel, and these gorgeous aluminium or aluminum, depending on where you're from, paddles behind the steering wheel. We've got the very racy start-stop button for the engine, and as you can see on the left-hand side, we've got a few kind of driving aids there for cruise control and hill descent, would you believe, as well. And on the right-hand side, things such as the Bluetooth volume and the infotainment. In terms of the infotainment, we've got a nice screen here on the centre of the dashboard, flanked underneath with the carbon fibre, and on the top with the green and white stitching again. It's not the, I would say, brightest screen. I know it sounds like an odd criticism, but it seems quite dark when you're driving, and again, I've only driven it a short period so far. And then down below on the centre console, we've got the infotainment system there, so it's like a rotary dial system, and then we've got the DNA system as well for the drive modes on this Quadrifolio. But the seats, they do look quite narrow. Are they going to fill my, is my 5'7" wide frame going to fill them and kind of roll over the top of them? We'll find out as I'm driving. So as I mentioned, around the back, in the back seats, so the seat is in my driving position, but you can see there's plenty of legroom and knee room. Someone could sit comfortably behind there and actually be quite tall, possibly not over 6'2" maybe, because of that sloping roofline. But again, this is a bit of a, if you are sat behind the driver, that's what you're going to be seeing. So you've got these very thick carbon fibre seats, but they do look absolutely awesome. And again, on the doors we've got the carbon fibre and the green and white stitching. We come to the tailgate, I'll get the boot up. Again, apologies, the boot is filled with my camera equipment as I'm about to set up and go for a drive, but you can see it's a nice decent sized boot. There's a flat load bay on there, so you're not gonna, there's a little bit of a scuff plate just there, so you're not going to scuff some stuff when you're coming out of the car. And there's also a subwoofer in the boot as well, so it's a nice square shape. I'm not sure of the literage, that will come up at the bottom of the screen now for you. And if you need any extra space, you can remove the parcel shelf, but also you've got the little handle there if you need to get the seats folded flat. And then I'll just bring the boot down. Here's a powered tailgate, and then you've got these gorgeous quad pipes, which you just know are going to make a nice noise. So I'll try and see if I can get that recorded for you before setting off. So guys, that is the walk around bit. Let's now go for a drive. Right everyone, so you've just seen the walk around. Let's now go for a drive. As you can see, I've not moved from that car park that I've been filming from and did the walk around. So let's go for a drive in the oh, put the button, there we go, the Stelvio Quadrifolio. Right, here we go. So make sure everything's all in place and together so we don't have any issues. As I mentioned, it's 510 brake horsepower, 2.9 litre twin turbo V6, and first impressions driving it, well, not too far. I mean, it's absolutely lovely. There's a gorgeous burble coming from the back of the car. The seats, as I did say, they look a little snug. I'm okay. I think I'm kind of at the limit. If I was a little bit wider, if I was 5'8" wide, I might have a few issues. But at the moment, I think I'm not doing too badly. So let's have a quick drive. Now, unfortunately, being in the Cotswolds, we don't have many tunnels and stuff and such, but I'm already finding one thing that I'm getting wrong a couple of times, and that is the windscreen wipers. I'm usually kind of used to pressing them down to do like one rotation on the front. Now I know this road opens out a little bit. So yeah, so if you push it down on the wipers, it does the rear, and if you lift it up once, then it does the front. So need to get that into my head. Should take a few seconds. Now I'm saying a maximum speed of 25 miles an hour around here. So a little bit of the brakes. Let's have a little look. So I've got the car set into N mode. Which is the kind of normal setting. There we go. So I'm just getting used to these wipers. So I don't know if you can see out the front. Right, I'm going to show you now. There is a little bit of okay, there's quite a lot of rain, so I'm going to slow it down a little bit. We got dynamic, So no one behind me. I'm going to drop it down to 30 miles an hour and foot down, here we go. I'm going to shut up. I'm sorry, I've really got I've got to giggle like a schoolgirl, and that was that's the first time I've ever done that, and I apologise if there are any kids watching, but oh shit. Oh, that was brilliant. Oh my god, that was just amazing. Oh, right, let's kind of pop around this road here. So you had then got race mode, and I believe that turns everything off. So I know if I put my foot down, oh, that engine sounds awesome in race mode. I don't know if you can hear it on the mic. It sounds really raspy at the back. It's like there's a couple of extra valves or something opening. I'm gonna have to find out more information on the car, and then have it scrolling across the bottom of the screen. But you just, traction control's off. Oh, that's incredible. That's just it just pulls me into the seat. I never expected that from the engine. Wow. So you can shift it across, and you can do manual, and then you're using the flappy paddles. Oh wow, that's and it gives a little fart. I don't know what the noise is at the back. I've heard one of these driving under load whilst I was filming the Fiat Tipo, and if you want to watch that video, by all means click in the top right hand corner. But really, if you want to watch that, why are you watching this? I mean, a 500 brake horsepower super SUV. Oh god, I don't think this is a twin clutch gearbox, but it's just, oh, that's amazing. This will put a smile on your face instantly. As soon as you put it even in dynamic mode, it pulls you in the seat. You just get a little bit more raspiness. If I drop it down, so now back into dynamic. Oh, the shifting is actually really quick, and it's quite abrupt as well. When you're changing, you can kind of get a little jolt from it. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It just lets you know that it's in its most abrupt mode. Right then, so I know this is all kind of recorded in one go because I want to get like a really good live impression of my first drive in the Stelvio Quadrifolio. Right, so the ride, it's surprisingly comfortable. I've had it in dynamic, I've had it in race mode, and it's nice and comfortable. It's absorbed most of the bumps pretty well. Having it, in sport setup and with 20-inch alloy wheels, of course, I'm not exactly expecting it to be as comfortable as like a big Bentley Bentayga. And I just want to find navigation. That's what I want. So I'm in the car now. The guys at FCA, they've done like a preset route on it, so I'm going to follow that. Right, now that I've calmed down a little bit, let's get on to some proper reviewing, shall we? So, oh dear. So the ride of the car, it rides incredibly well, considering the fact this is not just a performance SUV, this is a super SUV, and with those 20-inch alloy wheels as well, I was expecting it to be quite harsh and quite crashy, but it's none of those. They've done an incredible job of actually making this car ride very well, incredibly well, I should say. Now, the steering is another highlight. Now, I've not done a huge amount of B roads in this, because as I've let you know that I've only got this for a short period, but I have driven a Stelvio about a year and a half ago, and it was the 2.2 litre diesel, and it was an absolute joy. It just seems to, it actually inspires confidence when you're driving it, and the faster you go, the more it does things that SUVs really shouldn't do. And that again is a huge testament to the engineering and everything that Alfa Romeo, and I think they've had some work with Ferrari as well to get this Stelvio up to par, up to being one of the best performance SUVs out there. I'm going to put my foot down. Oh, there we go. Oh. I'm loving it. The car's making all sorts of farting noises. It's brilliant. But also, that's the other thing, when you put your foot down, that's the only thing on this car that's, I'm going to say scared me, because it caught me by surprise of how vicious that engine is, that power, that torque just pulling you along. It's absolutely brilliant. It really is amazing, and if I had the money, oh blooming heck, I think I might go for one of these. It's absolutely wonderful. Now, visibility is not too bad. You've got nice big wing mirrors to see behind you. That's absolutely fine. The A-pillars are quite thick. Rear visibility, okay, it is quite compromised. You've got a thin rear screen because of that sloping roofline, because of that sporty look to the Stelvio. But other than that, it's not too bad. I mean, I can see behind me there is somebody relatively close. But all in all, it's okay. There is actually quite a thick C-pillar as well, so your blind spot, if you've got blind spot monitoring, that will definitely help when you're driving. So the interior, well, I took you around it on the little walk around bit. There's lots of soft touch plastics. The top of the dashboard has got leather on there, stitched leather with the green and the white to let you know it is the Quadrifolio. The screen, I mentioned it again earlier, it's surprisingly dark. I would like to spend a bit of time with one of these so I can kind of go through the menus and make that screen brighter. It does seem quite dark. It's almost like you're driving at night and you don't want it to be glaring at you, but it's happening all the time. But other than that, I mean, yes, down below there are some hard scratchy plastics, so if you are in something like a more premium, say, well, I would say not more premium, but a German car, something like a BMW or Audi, you probably would get higher quality plastics on the doors and lower down in the cabin. But for the most part, you're not really going to be reaching down there and touching all the plastics. You're going to be looking at the top section, and they've done that incredibly well. There's a lovely amount of carbon fibre. I love the carbon fibre on the centre dash here. It's nicely laid out. I like the fact the air conditioning buttons and the climate control buttons are actual physical buttons, not having to go through a screen like some more, you know, German cars are going nowadays. So that's an old-fashioned thing I like, and thank you Alfa Romeo for keeping hold of it. The infotainment system itself, it's got like a rotary dial wheel, and you've got like a little touchpad, I think it is, on top possibly. If not, it's just a button. But it's not unlike BMW's iDrive system, but BMW's iDrive system is the best system out there. So it's not terrible. I'm glad you're not having to use a touchscreen. I like the fact that you have to use a rotary dial so you don't get messy fingerprints on the screen. But it's good, it's just not the best. Back into manual. Oh, you can never you can never get tired of that. Also, these aluminium paddles behind the steering wheel, they're gorgeous to hold and feel. Am I wrong? Am I being dirty? Is, you know, rubbing two bits of metal a bad thing? I mean, I know most people like to, you know, rub leather and wood, but no, this is how you do paddles if you've got an automatic car. And there's a nice reassuring click. Oh, Sorry, that's just the autonomous emergency braking. I was in the right lane for him. But here we go, mate. So now I'm in race mode. That turns most of the safety systems off. So let's go. So we've got 8-speed automatic gearbox. It turns off the drive rates. I'm going to put it back into dynamic. That brings the drive rates back in. So like stability control, traction control. These aren't the most ideal conditions to have them all fully turned off, but I'm only going in a straight line and keeping well within the speed limit. So don't worry guys, I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm driving it in accordance to the law. That's why I've been slowing down, waiting, and then putting my foot down just to get me up to that speed. So everyone, what are my first impressions of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifolio? Do you honestly think I'm going to say anything negative? I mean, I've brought up during the drive some of the interior plastics, the infotainment screen being quite dark, and some of the 360 visibility with the C-pillars being quite thick. That aside, this is not a good car, not a very good car. This is, pardon my language, a bloody great car. Very rarely do I get, I'm going to say scared in a car, when I put my foot down in this and the torque and the engine just boom together and pin me in my seat. I was not expecting that from a petrol car. Usually it's these like big diesels that really throw you into the back seat. This just took my breath away, and I'm gobsmacked. I absolutely love it. This is probably a little bit longer than some of my other first impression videos, but there's a reason for it, and that's because it's an absolute joy. Alfa have got a winner on their hands. I love the looks of this car. It's, like I said, it's not the prettiest Alfa. I think even some of the previous generation cars, some of the styling quirks, the, you know, the exposed light bulbs, they worked really well, and it was an epically beautiful car, like the Barrera and even the 159 before the Giulia replaced it. But this is a stunning looking car. It's incredibly comfortable. The seats are great. I feel, you know I'm 5'7" tall and I'm 5'7" wide, but they hold me in place. They hold me actually very well. It reminds me a little bit of the Honda Civic Type R, those bucket seats, and they are astonishing. And the fact that it's all kind of real carbon fiber just adds to that sportiness to the car. But to be honest, for the price of it, would you expect anything less? No. This has been an absolute wonderful car to drive, and I've got to send these videos to Alfa Romeo to let them know that I've done a video on them. So here is my plea. Alfa, please, 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 can I have one of these for a week, or a Giulia Quadrifolio? Because I need to do a genuine good review, a week-long review in the car, serious review. But that aside, this has just been epically brilliant. I love this car, and I now want to go out, even though it's wet, I want to experience the Giulia Quadrifolio, because that's kind of the car that started it for Alfa, started this resurgence. And Alfa are currently onto a number of winners with the Giulia and the Stelvio. Long may that continue. So, as I usually do at the end of my videos, please give it a like, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell notifications icon. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. For additional content, I do live videos. I did a little walk around of the Stelvio live when I had the car, and I do additional photos and that, which will come up on Instagram, as I mentioned. So this is, I'm going to park it in this car park now, just take some photos of it with that backdrop. Hopefully I can get a good look at that, and then take it back so someone else can drive it. I don't know. So guys, have a great one. Have a great day. I'll catch you all in the next video. This has been bloody marvellous. Thank you. Take care.